Close to 150 years ago, a feud lit this area on fire. The Hatfields being on the West Virginia side, and the McCoys not that far away on the Kentucky side. Though the feud players are now long gone, you can still see and feel the residue left behind if you look for it. Proof that they existed, loved, and lost in this wild and beautiful part of the world. Devil Anse Hatfield, whose real name is William Anderson, led the West Virginia Hatfields, while Randall McCoy, whose name is Randolph, was over the large family McCoys in Kentucky. Now, was some of this sensationalized? Probably. But was some of it true? Absolutely. And the large families led to endless bloodlines here and beyond of Hatfields and McCoys, and each one has his or her own story.
Well, hello, YouTube. How are you guys doing today? I hope you're having a really good New Year's Eve. Some of you may recognize where I am today. If not, I'll touch base on it just a little bit. This here is the old McCoy home place, and Randall McCoy's well right there. So we thought today would be a good day to do a video tribute to the resilience of the McCoy family. So let's go back to a cold New Year's Day in 1888. The feud had reached its peak during the 1888 New Year's Night Massacre, and that's where we are today. Cap Hatfield, who was Devil Anse Hatfield's second-born son, and his uncle, Jim Vance, had led several members of the Hatfield clan. It was friends and family, but not including Devil Anse Hatfield himself, who some say was sick at the time. Some say he didn't know and didn't approve. But to be honest, realistically, we will never know the real truth, and that is the real truth right there. As always, there will be conflicting stories, so I'll go out of my way to kind of point those out to you as we go along. One of my friends right there, he lives in that house there, and he saw me coming up here. "Hey Leo, where you headed?" "Up to the old home site." He said, "Wouldn't have anything to do with today being the anniversary, would it?" Yeah, it would. But anyway, like I said, we'll never know really the truth. But anyway, the plan, the Hatfield plan, was to surround the McCoy cabin and open fire on the hopefully sleeping family. Awakened by the shooting, the McCoys managed to grab their guns and fired back. The cabin was then set on fire in an effort to drive the McCoys out into the open. Panicking, the McCoys rushed to every exit they could find. Randall McCoy managed to escape, and according to his testimony in court, stayed at the Scott house, who were neighbors. The rumor is he hid in a pig pen, but then again, we have no proof of this, so that's rumor, and we'll leave it as rumor. Most of his children had managed to escape into the woods. Two of Randolph's children, Calvin and Alifair, were shot and killed near the family well as they exited their home. They're buried across the street at what's known as the Forbidden Cemetery, right down here. Randall's wife, Sarah, was caught, beaten, and almost killed, suffering from brain damage for the rest of her life. With his house burning, Randall and his remaining family members were able to escape farther into the wilderness. His children, unprepared for the cold elements, suffered frost bites and bitter cold temperatures that night. His granddaughter Cora later died from extensive frostbite to her feet and legs. The remaining McCoys moved to Pikeville, Kentucky to escape the West Virginia Hatfield raiding parties. On August 24th of 1888, 8 of the Hatfields and their friends were indicted for the murder of Randolph's daughter, Alifair McCoy, who was killed during the New Year's Massacre. And if you've been following our channel, you know that we've done stories on a lot of these people already. Ellison Cotton Top Mounts, some of y'all probably heard of him, was executed in a public hanging and buried in an unmarked grave within sight of the gallows. According to newspapers at the time that were there, that would be the cemetery directly behind the Pikeville College today. Ellison had tried to retract his confession, stating that he was innocent and that he had only confessed because he expected leniency. But his retraction was denied. Thousands attended his hanging in Pikeville. The actual hanging site is the current location of a classroom building at the present-day University of Pikeville. Fighting between the families eased after the following the hanging of Ellison Mounts. Of those who were sent to prison, Valentine Uncle Wall Hatfield, elder brother of Ants, was one of the 8 convicted, dying in prison from unknown causes. And in the Hatfield McCoy movie, he is shown as being the judge over the hog trial, which he was not. But he had petitioned his brothers to assist in his emancipation from jail, but none came for him, for fear of being captured and brought to trial themselves. He was buried in the prison cemetery, which has since been paved over. He was later moved to the same cemetery where Daniel Boone now lies in Frankfort, Kentucky. In the end, he had nobody that seemed to care. Doc D. Mahan served 14 years in prison before returning home to live with his son Melvin. Pliant Mahan, son of Valentine, served 14 years in prison before returning home to rejoin his ex-wife, who had remarried but left her second husband to live with Pliant again. Johnsy Hatfield, who was Devil Anse Hatfield's firstborn, was indicted, but he wasn't arraigned until 1898. He managed to live as a free man until then, even with a bounty on his head. Johnsy headed to the Washington territories to work in the timberlands with Cap Hatfield until they went their separate ways. The brothers did unite later when Cap decided he wanted to return home and found Johnsy working as a lumberjack in a timber camp. The brothers returned home to avoid a life of running from the law and to be in the safety near their family and their father. However, upon returning in 1898, Johnsy was soon arrested and sentenced to life in prison for the murder of Alifair McCoy. He served 13 years and was given parole for saving the warden's life one day by killing a fellow inmate. There are actually several stories about this incident. Another claims he reduced his sentence due to an appeal on the grounds of a technical error in jury instructions. Either way, Johnsy went on to remarry 2 more times. Johnsy's conviction was one of the few successful ones that came out of the Hatfield-McCoy feud. But even then, he remained a free man for the majority of his life. Johnsy supposedly died of a heart attack one day while riding his horse. And this is the very spot where this happened. The house sat right there. The Hatfields had came over. You heard the story. We're not here for captives. You understand? We're not here for prisoners. We're here to kill the entire family. Now you just imagine that, okay? You're sitting around the house with your family on New Year's Eve. You're not suspecting much. You're expecting a quiet evening with the family. And all of a sudden, bullets start ringing out. 2 of your children get shot. He lost 3 that night, technically speaking. He lost 2. This is his well, by the way. He lost 2 that night. And like I said just a minute ago, the other daughter, due to frostbite, injuries that she suffered the night that they were out here. And I've done this video here where they went. I actually went and found what I believe to be the very spot where they actually hid that night. And it kind of brings home a lot of points, to not let things like this get out of hand. It's good to learn lessons from people who've learned it the hard way. Now you think about that now. 3 of your children on 2 separate occasions. That is harsh. But Randall, he took the rest of his family, and he moved to Pikeville, Kentucky, and lived out the rest of his days. Now the Hatfield clan, because, Devil Ance's name, if nothing else, it was led by Devil Anse Hatfield. And I still, to this day, I get questions asking me, why would someone name their child Devil? Well, it was a nickname. They didn't name him Devil. His real name was William. So, but anyway, the Hatfields the Hatfield side of the feud tends to get more of the glory. I'll just put it that way. And, researching this stuff and doing all these stories and things like that, the Hatfield side of the clan, Hatfield side of this equation, we'll say, seems to get more glory, more attention, that sort of thing. Devil Anse was a very, very wealthy man. The feud itself is, obviously the feud is very interesting. People from all over the world are interested in the feud. But when you get right down to it, it was 2 families trying to tear each other apart. Well, anyway, guys, this is Leo with the Hillbilly Files. Thank you guys for coming out today, for coming out on this anniversary and spending a little time with us for a special anniversary edition of the Hillbilly Files. Thank you for watching. We certainly appreciate you. And you guys have a really good New Year's. And I hope the new year brings you all sorts of joy and happiness and prosperity. Leo out.